Okay, guys, welcome back to the Angry and Aware podcast. I was actually in the middle of recording a whole different episode that will come out later, but as I was talking and kind of ranting, I just got led in another direction and I'm going to go with it. So this episode is going to be titled, But I Can't Change, and it is about a myth that people with anger issues cannot change. And it's not true, y'all. One of the biggest things I hear from people is that it's just the way I am. It's just the way I am, and people can deal with it or they cannot deal with it. And you know what? That is true. It is true. People can deal with it or they cannot, but you're going to end up alone. And are you ready to deal with that? And you are going to be failing to bring value into the community around you. And is that who you want to be? Is that really who you want to be? And for the people who are okay with it, I don't understand you. And I can't pretend to. It's not acceptable in my eyes. And I'm not saying this as someone who doesn't get it. I'm in it with you. And I just don't find that acceptable. There are so many things in life that are natural. And this is natural. It is the way we were made. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect us all and say this is a choice in the sense that we wanted to be born these angry people. We didn't want to be born this way. I know I didn't want to be born this way, but we are. And it's our job to do something about it. There are people all over the world born all different types of ways with inclinations to be all different types of ways. And at the end of the day, some of them are positive and naturally feed into the people around them, and some of them aren't. I mean, there are people who are born and they are kleptomaniacs. They have the inclination to steal. But would we ever pretend that that's an acceptable behavior? It's not acceptable. It's harmful to those around you. And anger issues is no different. If you leave anger issues unchecked, there are consequences. And that's a huge thing with people with anger issues, is not have an episode, to not be reactive, to not, follow through on whatever altercation you might want to have. It feels very weird. I think that's something that a lot of people from the outside don't fully realize is, for us, we're not made like that. We are truly made to where our bodies are telling us, hey, we need to take action. We need to do something. But it's just not ideal for functioning well. It's not ideal for having loving personal relationships. That's the truth. Okay, there's lots of things that are natural, but that doesn't make it fun, and it doesn't make it nice, and it doesn't make it loving, and it doesn't make it ideal. Yes, I do think it's important to acknowledge, hey, we were made this way. A lot of us were made this way. A lot of us, for whatever reason, were born with a natural inclination to choose fight when it's in a situation of fight or flight. A lot of us were born with a natural inclination to take extreme action. And that's the problem, is even though it might be minor, very minor things going on, for whatever reason, it's definitely a mix of nature and nurture. We are told by our bodies and our minds to have these extreme reactions. And so when you are going through this process, keep in mind, you are going against your nature. There are so many things you have to do that with. I mean, your body, your nature is going to tell you to sit on the couch and be a couch potato all day. But you got to go to the gym. Think about it. Think twice and train yourself. I mean, a dog's nature tells it to piss on the floor, but nobody wants a dog that pisses on the floor. Let's be honest. It's unpleasant to be around. And that's the reality, is sometimes it matters. It matters if you're pleasant to be around. It matters if you're making the people around you's life harder or easier. And I think part of it is a lot of us naturally care less about what people think of us, or we've had to enter that mindset to deal with the way that we are. And don't get me wrong, there is an absolutely beautiful side of that. I mean, I am posting this podcast that everyone in my personal life is going to see. I mean, that's very uncomfortable, but ultimately I am made in a way that I just don't care. I want it out there. I want a community, and I want people who are struggling with the issues that I'm struggling with to hear they're not alone, and we can do this, and we can make progress, and we can be better versions of ourselves. And so that outweighs everything for me. Well, that same trait that gives me the power to overcome any discomfort with being different, being vulnerable, is the same trait that allows me to make a total ass of myself at a party. And really, at the end of the day, even if I'm a little embarrassed, not care. And I think that that's something probably a lot of you at home can relate to. I am not saying that the way we are made is wrong or bad. I am saying we have to learn to channel it for positivity and for things that are going to feed into our life and for other people's lives. I think we all have people in our lives that we love, who care about us, that we want to make their lives easier and better. And if you don't, there may be a reason. I know me personally, there have been times in my life where I have been very lonely, and it's not been for no reason. There's been a reason, and it's because anger, as I said, is a secondary emotion. People who are expressing anger, it's basically like they're saying, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. And sure enough, if you feed into this lifestyle, and that's what it definitely becomes over time, sure enough, people are going to walk away. People are going to leave. People are only going to handle it for so long. And even the people who stay will become a shell of themselves because you will destroy them slowly. And I know that's hard to hear at times, but it's the truth. And I'm sure if you're someone who truly struggles with this, you can think of someone in your life. A lot of times it's your partner. It's the person that you supposedly love the most. And when you look at them, you don't even recognize them. You may not even like them anymore, and you blame them. A lot of us blame them. Man, watch them when they get away from you. They will become the person you met the first day. That is one of the most sad things, but it's also one of the most telling things. Watch if you are in a cycle of anger. Look at the people when they are with you versus when they leave the relationship. And so many of them will go back to that person that you fell in love with. And you think, why couldn't they have been this the whole time? When they were with me, they were boring, or they were quiet, or they kind of let themselves go. Well, people are like a flower. You either water them or you leave them to die. And people who struggle with anger issues, unfortunately, we take it out on the people who we know will love us no matter what, who we know won't leave us. And that's not the ideal way, in my opinion, to live. I remember I had an ex-partner say to me one time, the thing I worry about you is you care more about what people who hardly know you think of you than the people who are in your daily life and should matter the most. And she was totally right, and she was telling the truth. And I took her words to heart, and I said, how does that look in real life? And how it looks is, it looks inconsiderate. It looks narcissistic. If you want to add value, genuine value, because when you're tearing someone down and you are destroying their soul, it doesn't really matter what else you do. That's the truth. If you're beating your dog every night, it doesn't really matter that you fill his food and water bowl up. That's the truth, okay? What you really need to do is let the damn dog go. Rehome the dog. You're not ready to have a dog, right? That's pretty black and white. We can see that pretty clearly. Or you need to get some help immediately, and you need to work on yourself. And that's the hard conversation that we need to have today, is that there is no excuse that makes this acceptable. And you've got to get to that point if you want to change, where you're ready to accept that. It's not acceptable. We've got to get a hold on this, and we can do it together. I believe that. So the first thing I want you to do, and the first thing I did, was start with gratitude. Think about the most important people in your life. Get out a pen and paper and write down the names of the most important people in your life. And I want you to sit, and I want you to go down the list and think about what each of them do, what they bring into your life. Everyone brings something unique. Think about what they bring into your life, the value they bring. And then I want you to think about what you do for them, what you honestly do for them. And when you're around them, I want you to observe your behavior. How much do you talk and they listen? How much do you honestly care about the stuff they're saying? How much do you feed into their soul? Are you honest with them? Do you lie? Do you feel like you can be yourself? Do you make room for them to be themselves? Do you get mad at them because you don't like who they are? Is it a reflection that maybe you don't like who you are and you're projecting that onto them? Are you ready for that relationship? Especially a romantic relationship. You gotta get a grip. You gotta get a certain level of a grip on these problems before you bring a partner into your life. That's the truth. Because otherwise, you're gonna destroy the love. You're going to destroy the intimacy between you. There's a popular saying for people with anger issues and abusers, which is sadly where anger issues takes people often. And it is, every time they forgave you, you fell more in love with them. But every time they forgave you, part of their love for you died. These people who love us and accept us, sadly, if we don't work on ourselves, are getting the brunt. They're getting the brunt of our issues. And we can lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that it's okay, but it's not okay. and they'll leave us or they will spiritually die. And I don't know about you, but that's unacceptable for me. That is not the life that I want. I'm not saying I've never done it. This has been a journey. So if you're sitting there listening to this and your heart is full of shame because you've hurt people in the past, you got to let it go in a weird way. I don't know how to say it, but you've got to face it, look at it, accept it. If you feel you need to apologize, apologize. If you feel you need to leave them the hell alone because you messed them up in the head real bad, leave them the hell alone and write a letter for yourself. Write a letter to them and apologize and acknowledge. So many people with anger issues don't want to acknowledge the pain that we've caused. And it's just not going to work until you acknowledge. You can't move on. I've said this. Until you can face who you are, you can't heal yourself. You can't become someone else until you realize and accept who you are in the moment. And so if you want to apologize, you want to face it, but maybe you caused them a lot of harm, and honestly, reaching out would be selfish or triggering for them. Write a letter. You do not have to send it. You can keep it for yourself. You can burn it after you're done, whatever you like. Have some intimacy with yourself and say what you've done. Talk about what you've done. Acknowledge it and sit with it and feel the ugly feelings that I know so many of us have been avoiding for years. And then you got to forgive yourself. It stresses me out even saying that because so many of us, we bullshit ourselves. And we are the first ones to move on from what we've done because the truth is, it feels awesome for us. That's the messed up part that we don't want anyone to know, is that when we sit there and we have an absolute rage fit like a child, it feels amazing. When we ruin the day for everyone else, our day got better because for whatever reason, we were made in a way that we feel these negative feelings so strongly. And I have empathy for you because I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is. I know how nasty it feels and how overwhelming it feels and how much you just want those emotions out of your body. But let's be honest, when we have those attacks, we are just transferring them from our bodies to the people we care about the most, to the people around us, to the people in our environments. And honestly, we can forgive ourselves a little too quick at times. But if you are truly looking at yourself, it is time, once you sit with it and you acknowledge. And I do encourage, if you've got people in your life who have been affected, talk with them about it and you'll be surprised. You'll really be surprised because sometimes what hurts the most is the lack of acknowledgement. And you'll see the hope in their eyes and the love in their eyes at the acknowledgement. But if you're not ready, don't do it. That is such bullshit. If you're not there, don't do it and you'll know when you're there. If you're not so sure, then you're not ready. That's the way I look at it. And that's the way I work. Maybe it's not the way you work, but that's the way I work. I know the truth. And if I'm not 100% certain, then I'm not there. And there's a difference between being uncertain and being scared to do it. Keep that in mind as well. But anyways, it's the time for acknowledgement, and then you've got to forgive yourself and you've got to allow yourself to believe that's who you were then and someone new is in the making. And every single day you're going to push to be the new person, the person who thinks about others, considers others, listens to others, holds their tongue, counts to 10 before saying the mean thing that they want to say. And sometimes this is the truth. Sometimes you say it anyways, okay? That's another part of the uncomfortable reality is a lot of people, when they're giving advice to people with anger issues, they tell us count to 10, meditate on it. What they don't tell you is, man, sometimes you meditate on it for 20 minutes and when the 20 minutes is up, it's still there. You're not going to be perfect. That's the truth. You're absolutely not going to be perfect, but you'll know if you're making progress or not. And the truth is, the way to guarantee you make progress is to count to 20 anyways. Count to 20. If it's still there, count to 20 again. If you fuck up, all right, have that talk with yourself. And the next day when you get the temptation, count to 20 again. It doesn't mean it's not working. It means you got a lot of stuff you got to work out. And these are things I wish I knew. I wish someone had told me, because a lot of my struggle early on was every time I failed, I didn't realize that learning something new and working on yourself requires failure. It's actually part of the learning process. Instead, I internalized it and I told myself, see, you can't get better. See, this is who you are. See, you're a monster. And it's not true, honey. And if you keep doing it every day, and you make this a lifestyle and you make this part of who you are, and you're honest with your friends and family, and you have those conversations and you see the good coming out of it, one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be easier. I mean, for me, it came out of nowhere. It was like suddenly it's not so hard. Suddenly my body and my mind are understanding this process a little bit better, and they are on board with me. In the beginning, your body and your mind almost work against you. And it is such a conscious effort, and it is so unnatural and so uncomfortable. But if you keep with it, just like eating healthy, at first, when you eat healthy, it tastes horrible. That's not made up. It tastes horrible. It's like, why would anyone eat this? But if you keep eating it, one day your palate changes and you crave it. But when you stick with it and you let your body enjoy it and you change your lifestyle, well, that day that you're in a rush and you're like, let me just stop and get me a little chicken Sammy, extra mayo. You eat that little grease hog and your belly hurts for hours and you say, oh, I forgot. Damn, I'm not this person anymore. My body isn't used to this anymore and it doesn't like it. And next time you plan better and you do better. Okay, so it's the same thing with this. And that's how this lifestyle is. At first, it's so unnatural and it's so uncomfortable. And then one day it starts to become easier. And then one day you start to crave it. One of the biggest things that helped me was when I started to work on becoming more considerate. And so here is my suggestion for you, and this is what worked for me. When you are with people, ask yourself, how can I help them? What can I do for them? When they talk, do your best to listen. Listening is one of the most rare skills. And it's not at all that you have to become the most considerate person. You don't want to become someone people walk over either in this process. And sometimes it's very natural to accidentally overcorrect, especially whenever you're sitting in shame. You'll feel so ashamed of your natural behavior that you almost let people treat you like shit. And that's not the goal here either, okay? The goal here is to walk with your head up high and to do your best to help the people around you walk with their heads up high and to just live a more peaceful life, not so much drama. So try and listen and observe. How much are you listening? How much are you talking? Did you actually hear what they said, or did you decide what they were going to say before they finished saying it? In addition to that, talk to your friends and family, the people closest to you. Let them know, hey, this is something I'm working on. And I appreciate you guys. And as I struggle with this, I'm going to ask you guys to help keep me accountable. Or if they're not at that level, and not everyone's at the level, honey. Not everyone is at the level where they should really be one of the people that help keep you accountable. Okay? So don't be giving that away to just anybody. But you can share with them. You can let them know. Or, it doesn't always have to be a full sit-down conversation. You can just kind of casually, if it comes up naturally. Don't shy away. Yeah, well, I struggle with anger issues, and the other day I had an episode and it just ruined our time at dinner, and so now I'm buying these flowers to kind of make it up to her. And do you know what I'm saying? You can be honest with your friends and your buddies. You don't have to lie about it. They will love you anyways, and you never know. They may come forward and say, hey, I've actually been struggling with the same things. It seems like you're making some progress. Can you help me? It could turn into something wonderful. This can be really, weirdly enough, fun and positive because it feels good to make progress at something. It feels good to work hard at something. And that's what this is. This is something that requires you to work your ass off. This is not something that makes you weak. This is something that will make you the strongest person you've ever been. This is something that will help you fall in love with yourself. So many of us project our self-hate on the people around us, project our disappointment in the people around us, and it makes us hate them, and it really prevents us from loving ourselves because you can't get there if you don't realize where you're at. People who are living an angry lifestyle very quickly have to go into a world of delusion, because otherwise they either have to accept that they're destroying everything around them, or they have to change. And so many of us are scared to change and to take on this challenge, but yet we will sit in delusion. And I know this because I did it myself. I damn near ruined my life doing this. This is what it's like. It's like I see people struggling with this and they say, I'm in Mexico, I'm in Mexico, I'm in Mexico, I'm loving the beach, I'm loving the sun, I'm having a good time, baby, margarita in my hand. And you're kind of watching them and you're like, baby, you're in Arizona and it's hot as hell. And that's a cup of water. So, and what it does is they can't get to Mexico If they don't realize they're in Arizona, they're not gonna get the cool, juicy margarita with a salted rim. If they don't accept, baby, you got water in your hand, agua. Come on now. Y'all know I love these goofy analogies. But seriously, y'all, the first step is realizing where you are, and I only say it so much because, damn, it's one of the hardest parts, if not the hardest part. And so say it with me, y'all. Come on. I can get better. I will get better. In fact, I'm already getting better because I'm listening to this podcast and I'm ready to kick some ass. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit of a rant, but I had fun and I hope you did too.